Hello and welcome back to the Without Limits podcast. We are now at episode 7. Now this guest is extra special. All of my guests have been fantastic so far, and we've been trying to alternate in the early stages of the Without Limits podcast between well-known industry guests from the worlds of sport, fitness and business, and then also people a little bit closer to home. And in this week's episode, we have my wife, the mother of my 3 children. I'm of course talking about the wonderful Mrs. M. She's been a very requested guest. She often sits in the shadows, particularly with what many people see on social media. But today we sat down and discussed the early experiences of our relationship and how she felt as I was beginning to start the Marchon business and the trials and tribulations that I went through various stages of my career. We also discuss bringing up our children and the stresses and strains that causes on a relationship, how she manages her fitness, her nutrition, and then everything else that people have asked through social media via a Q&A. I'm really grateful she came on. You'll understand from the early stages of this podcast, she was very nervous. It almost ended in tears after 5 minutes, but she pulled it together. This is a special episode. The comments on social media from the early promo have been fantastic. And I really hope she sees this, steps out the shadows, and plays a more prominent role in the growth of Marchon going forward. As ever, if you like this episode, it's going to be a little bit different and hopefully caters to a wider range of my audience. Please drop us a comment. Give Mrs. M all the support you can and encourage her to do more of these types of things. Like it, share it, do all the good stuff. Thanks very much. Without further ado, I bring you episode 7, introducing the real Mrs. M, VP.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Without Limits podcast. I'm joined by Mr. Ollie Marchon.
It's good to be here.
And a special guest, doesn't do many podcasts, any podcast.
First one.
Laura Marchon, how are you?
I would say I'm well, but I'm not sure.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, I'm really nervous.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous?
A good 9.
Solid number. So to start, just to give context to who Loz is and what we're doing this podcast about, I want to bring back a question that you asked, Ollie, in the podcast recently with the Heaton brothers, where I'm going to get you both to introduce each other. So Ollie, how would you introduce Mrs. Laura Marchon?
So I refer to her as Mrs. M. Prior to Mrs. M, she was Loza J. Her maiden name is Jeffs. So Lauren is my wife. She's the mother of my 3 children. And I suppose she's probably, she is the person who's been there throughout the entire journey. So we, in episode 1 and 2, unpacked childhood, late sort of teens, end of school, university, rugby, etc. And I met Loz when I was 21, I think. 21? Yeah, you were 18, so I'd have been 21.
No.
Younger?
I was 18. You're only 2 years older, no?
Okay, 20. So something around that. I was at university. I was actually my first year of university. That's when I met her. So she's been through every kind of twist and turn of me losing my way at university with rugby and then getting back into rugby and then starting my business and then Marchon and all the development. So as well as being my wife and the mother of my children, is my best friend, very much so, and the person who's always shown faith in every decision I've made.
Is it my turn?
I think so.
How do you feel that as a representation?
I mean, it's a lovely representation. I'll take it. It's probably the nicest thing you've said to me.
Oh, come on.
No, that's not true. That's not true. You've said a lot of nice things about me over the years, but it's probably the nicest thing you've said this week.
Yeah, I can agree with that. You're going to need to sit closer to that mic as well, please.
Is that close enough?
Yeah, it's perfect.
For everyone watching, I'm going to leave that in. Loz, how would you introduce your husband, Mr. Ollie Marchon?
That is a very good question. Like, do I say it as I'm introducing you? Like,
no, well, I don't know, Sam. How did you?
like,
I would say if someone you didn't know, you just met them, and they asked you about Ollie, what does he do? Who is he? What would you say?
I would say you are the driving force of our family. I am, because I don't want to get upset. I am.
Fucking what a start.
I am constantly in awe of everything he does. You make me proud every week. Like, I always think there will be a limit to what you do, and there never is. Like, you constantly are evolving, improving. Don't know what else.
I think we'll leave it as that. I'll take that.
No, but like, as in, I always think that like there'll be a final point, and there isn't. Like, you're constantly raising the bar of who you are, not only in work, as a father, as a husband, just as an all-round person. So, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Happy with that?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Amazing.
Thanks, babes.
I don't know what else to say.
So let's sort of take it back a little bit. Give people a bit of context. What does your life sort of look like as a snapshot? If you could just break it down for people.
I think I have constantly winged it the whole way through life. I just like whatever's stuck, I've gone with it. Like, there has never been a plan, to be honest. I have worked since the age of 14 until I became a mother. And again, I just never had, unlike you, I just never had a drive or a career choice that like was like definite. I just, whatever worked at the time. I've been everything from, I've swept floors in a hairdresser's. I worked in a small sports shop in Harpenden. I then worked in a bar. I've been a chauffeur for a man who lost his license. What else? I've worked in Hollister, and I've been a flight attendant. So, I mean, there's a whole bag. There's just never been a one thing that I've stuck to. But here I am.
Stuck with me.
I've made it.
So this moves on nicely. So reflecting on your own journey alongside Ollie's entrepreneurial endeavours, what have been some pivotal moments or lessons that sort of shaped your perspective on partnership and personal growth over the last few years?
Can you ask me that again?
Yeah. So reflecting on your own journey alongside Ollie's entrepreneurial endeavours, so starting the business and everything that's come from that, what have been some of the pivotal moments or lessons that maybe you can think back to that has shaped kind of your partnership and the personal growth that you've had?
I think the main one is obviously having kids. You're looking at me blankly.
No, I'm waiting for what's going to come out.
I think a biggest changing point in our, like, pivotal moment in our life was having kids. Like, I think that's when we and also getting married and moving in together. I think that's when you know that life is like getting serious, and you are going to have to take things seriously with each other. Like, and relationships take a lot of work, and like, you can't just give up. I think those are moments where I've realised, yeah, we can't just give up at this. Like, this has either got to work or it doesn't.
How do you feel?
I think, like, Loz is one of her best characteristics is the fact she's so selfless. Sometimes too much. Like, she puts everything ahead of herself, which is why, you know, I've alluded to in previous podcasts, which is why I sometimes took things for granted. But it's one of her best traits. It's why she's such a good mother. It's why she's enabled me to be able to go out and do everything I want to do with my business, because she's almost sacrificed often herself for that to be able to happen. Obviously in the early years, as she alluded to, like, she didn't really know what it was she wanted to be. It wasn't like, I'm going to go to university and study this because I want to do X. She was moving from job to job, but one thing that was very evident, as she said, she's working since 14 years old, is that she fucking worked so hard. She was very independent. And that was probably what I loved the most about it, and which it's what I liked so most about it, is she was so independent. She knew what, you know, she could stand on her own 2 feet, very hardworking. And yeah, I think as we got a little bit older and when we moved in, she knew it was very obvious from the start. And I think when you're starting a relationship with someone, it's not just enough to fall in love with them and find them physically attractive. Like, you really do need to work out whether you're compatible on a number of levels, and that takes time. And you won't always know this from the get-go, but it's literally everything. Like, what do you want to become when you're older? Like, what do I want to become? What do you want to become? What are your working preferences? What time do you like to wake up in the morning? What time do you like to go to sleep? Do you like fitness? What foods do you like to eat? Where do you like to go out when you socialise? What holidays do you want to go on?
I think there's lots of things that we're very opposite on, but I also think there's lots of things that we're very like compatible on. Like,
Yeah, well,
and
I think once you both know those things, you can start to become accommodating for areas where you're opposites, and then
Yeah.
you can start to like double down on where you're really compatible and where you share in certain things. And I think we just spent a lot of time working that out from the get-go. We spent a hell of a lot of time together in the early years, and I certainly think like having seen how my mum brought me and my brother and sister up, and my mum was career driven. She was successful in her career, but she was very much suited to be a mum. You could see that from Loz from very early on. As soon as we did have kids, it was like a duck taken to water.
yeah, sort of.
I mean, you put yourself down when it comes to parenting all the time, but you're literally one of the best mothers I've ever come across.
Thank you.
And I genuinely regard my mum as like, I know everyone does say that their mum's
Your
the best
mum
mum in
is
the
a
world,
guardian angel.
but my mum is a
Like,
fucking superhero.
Yeah.
And you, there are so many similarities between the way you look after our kids, the way she looks after me.
So you mentioned sacrifice there, with Loz being extremely selfless.
I don't like to call it a sacrifice though, because that's almost like I've given up things that I wouldn't want to give up. Like, and it's not, because I'd happily sacrifice those things over and over again, like to be where we are. So I wouldn't like to call it a sacrifice.
So what would you say have been some of the sacrifices that you have made, both of you, over the last however long? Obviously with family evolving, with business evolving, like your time becomes more scarce. Have there been things that have been pushed to the side, do you think, for both of you?
I take your point. They're not sacrifices. I suppose it's just like clearly knowing where our strengths and weaknesses lie, and then the roles that we can play within our household so that both of us can play to our strengths, cover each other's weaknesses, and both try to enjoy the roles that we do. You know, obviously there's some shit things about being parents, there's shit things about running businesses, there's shit components in relationships, but when you know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you know each other's like motivations and what you genuinely want to try and do, it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
So again, where I could do way more is in parenting or looking after the house, like washing up and that house stuff.
But also, like, I know like how hard you work. It's not like you have like had an easy day and you've come home and you're not doing those things. Like, I know how hard you work and how time consuming it is. So like those things for me are just like a given. I don't expect those things of you. Like, anything you do is a bonus.
Yeah. So to my point, it's like knowing where my weaknesses lie, and covering my back. So I think that's if you look at any team cohesion, whether in sports teams, in the team that we've tried to create a Marchon, or even just like your family unit, that's really important. And there are times when you're going to get it wrong, and there are times where she covers my back too much to the point where I become a little bit lazy in certain tasks, where I need to give myself a kick up the backside. But she often will give it to me in like a kind of backhanded way. She'll remind me that I'm being.
I'll give you a little nag.
Yeah. And
then you'll say I'm nagging, but I tell him it's not nagging. I wouldn't nag if you just did it the first time.
Those sorts of things though, I need like constantly reminding.
Yeah, but that's like these are like minor things. These aren't things that like I would divorce you over.
I'm not.
And would you say, Loz, that there's been any sacrifice, or is there currently any sacrifice with what Ollie does, with what you do?
I wouldn't say with what you do. I think like becoming a mother, you sacrifice things. Like I think the hardest thing I found was my like freedom. Can't just suddenly like pop anywhere. There's no popping no more. Everything takes is like a military operation, and I have to like ask someone if I want to wipe my bum now. Like I can't just do anything without like someone's permission almost.
Who are you asking if you can wipe your ass?
The kids, like, can I go to the toilet, or are you going to need me in the next 2 minutes? Like, that's who I answer to them. They're like tiny little Hitlers. They are. Or terrorists. I do call them the tiny terrorists.
Okay. When I was asking about sacrifices, Yeah, I didn't know we were going to go down the kid route.
I mean,
in life.
like in life, I guess I have sacrificed a career, but like again, like I alluded to, like I've never had one set career that like I'm desperate to go back to. So I'm happy for that to be your thing. And I'm also like, I'm more than happy that my thing is mothering our children. Like, if that was a problem, we would address it, but it's like, it's not become an issue so far. So again, I don't really see it as a sacrifice. It's just something that I've done to have the life that we want.
Amazing. So moving forward to communication. So obviously it's fundamental in any relationship. How has your guys' dialogue changed over the years? Obviously with family life, with business, how has that affected things in terms of your communication and how you've developed that?
Good question. I think we're still learning.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I think we should probably have prefaced at the start of this podcast that we haven't got fucking this all figured out.
No, we don't.
When it comes to parenting, relationships, growing a business, etc. So, but we obviously have been in it for a little while now, and it's probably amplified year on year. It gets more and more intense because of the growth of the business, and also 3 kids. For anyone that's got 3 kids will understand it's far more difficult than having one.
I just think we're a lot more patient with each other.
Yeah, I think patience. I think again comes back to understanding. There's almost just like there becomes a sixth sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Where sometimes less communication is often more impactful because you kind of know the rhythm Monday to Friday, you know the rhythm at weekends, and you have to because of as Loz said, things become a military operation that you don't really, once you've created a routine or a natural cadence for parenting, for your day-to-day Monday to Friday with school drop-offs, kids clubs, and then weekends, how you want to use them. You almost don't want to upset that routine. And again, parents will understand. It goes down to everything: sleep, when they eat, when you guys get to do stuff together, when you guys will actually get a moment to talk to each other. So you almost use those pockets of time. Because if you do try and stray away from that routine or try and have a conversation in between something that is involving the kids, often
just hell breaks loose.
Yeah, often you're on the end of your with your patients anyway. So that's when sometimes you'll try and communicate something that's really important, and either it won't land or get missed, or it might frustrate the other person because their head's somewhere else.
We always just like to have like a little 10-minute talk before like you go to sleep.
She says we like to have a 10-minute talk. I go to bed, try and go to bed the same
I
time.
put the kids to bed and then I come in and just have like a little like, I know that he's like put his phone down. Like the kids aren't a distraction anymore. So I just come in for like a little 10 minutes of like banter with you, and like you're just like, I want to go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean,
Leave me alone.
It's a nice little 10-minute huddle at the end of the
like we just
at the end of the day.
Yeah, because he goes to bed way earlier than I do, and so I just like to have like 10 minutes of your time.
Yeah, I think
to just be like us.
Yeah, and outside of that, usually Lauren will get understanding of where I am through someone else rather than myself. I forget to communicate things often, but it's the way it is.
Yeah. How is the dealing with each other's sort of daily schedules? Because obviously, you, from what I know, your days start at different times.
Yeah,
they end at different times.
Yeah,
what's that like? How long did it become a normal routine for you guys? So,
with pre-kids, Lauren actually used to get up and train first thing in the morning at 6 a.m. So she is more of a night owl, and I'm very much an early riser. But before children, she would go straight to the gym and train at 6 a.m. At the original Marchon gym. And I think if we didn't have kids, you'd probably still maintain that, right? Like, but once we had children, in fact, as soon as Leo came, we ended up sleeping in separate beds. I mean, for the most part of the last 3-4 years, we've slept in separate bedrooms. We have like 60-70% of the time. Because we just stopped finding each other attractive.
No, I mean, it's not ideal, so I don't advise this for anyone else, but like it's just what worked for us.
Yeah, from the very early on, it was about protecting my sleep. Again, goes back to that selfless thing. Like, I know a lot of parents take it in turns throughout the night to wake up for their kids, and I commend them. I will go on record and saying that like I've done very minimal in terms of like night.
But I just knew that like you wouldn't be able to do what you do on like no sleep. So like I was happy to take that. Yeah.
So she protected my sleep in the very early years of going into parenting. to the point where she would sleep in a separate room. And it meant that
when it got to Enzo, I was like, no, it's about time you go in the spare room and I'll take the big bed.
Yeah, so then
I figured out that I was being too nice.
So where was I going with this? Yeah, so I could just carry on my routine. What was the fucking question again?
It was about balancing your schedules. So
yeah, fine.
Schedules.
So my schedule has become, I get up out of bed at 4:30 and leave. So now we are back in the same bed more often than not.
I am now every night.
I just have to manage being really quiet as I leave the house.
He has to all he has to do is get his stuff ready for the morning and then like not make a noise. That's all I'm asking. Which to be fair, I haven't noticed you get up.
I was took on board.
Yeah, you did. Well done. I'd pat you on the back if I could.
Back to the question. For the most part, Monday to Friday, we won't see each other during the day. I might see her in passing.
Sometimes you come home in the morning.
Yeah. If I haven't seen the kids for a while, I'll try and pop home after like the morning session or breakfast just to see them. But invariably, she's doing her thing. I'm doing my thing till 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
I'll get home soon to when the kids are being fed, and we'll have dinner together. And then I will go up to bed when the kids go to bed. And then Loz often watches shit TV for the next couple of hours.
It's true, but like my defense is that I just like something that like doesn't require any brain power whatsoever. Like I just need something.
Yeah, I think it's important for people that if you spent most of the day talking to kids and having,
I'm like overstimulated. Like I don't want anyone to like touch me. Like I'm all touched out. It's like when you're like, can we have a cuddle? And I'm like, literally, I couldn't think of anything worse. Sorry. But like, do you know what I mean? Like I've had kids climb on me all day and all they've done is like, mum. Like my brain just like hurts. And that's when you say to me, like, I need to like switch off. We just have different ways of switching off.
Yeah. So to answer the question, Monday to Friday, very much on our own schedules and routines. See each other a little bit in the evenings. And then weekends, if there's not an event, usually it's a Sunday where we'll do like a big family thing. And that's kind of our time to, spend the majority of the day together.
Saturdays afternoons, Sundays are like thing.
Yeah.
We'll cram it all in.
What would you change about your schedules if you could have the most ideal schedule? In terms of you could build it yourself and it would work with business, with life, family.
Well, Ollie just wants to run away off to Bali and like...
I genuinely wouldn't change anything.
No, I don't think I would.
I'm a bit old school in the sense that like it's how I was brought up. My dad was never around. Well, my dad just wasn't around during the day, and he was at work all the time. And I'm someone who I've kind of adopted the same. Like I could, if I wanted to, not to get up at 4:30 and not come into work. I could work from anywhere invariably right now, but it wouldn't suit team cohesion and culture, and also just like the feeling that I have of being around my team and being at work. So all the decisions that we've kind of made are, to the best of our knowledge, it's just the way it works. I think we'd kill each other if we spent Monday to Friday like around each other all day with the kids.
When it was like COVID, for example, actually I think we survived quite well, but like you just didn't know what to do with yourself. Like just having you around all the time is just like, I just know it's not your thing. Yeah. So like,
and I've alluded to again in the past that like I place whatever my identity is outside of being a husband and a father high up on my list of like who I am. So when it was rugby, it was rugby, and when it's like the founder of Marchon and growing this company, it's very important to me. And Marchon was the first. Business owners will appreciate that when you have a business, it's like having a child. You need to feed and water that thing 24/7, 365 days a year. So obviously when you have real kids, you realize like what real love is, but still a business is something that you need to tend to. And if you've built it from the ground up and it's taken a lot of your energy and time, etc. And it's taken, like I said, Loz was with me for the entire journey as well. So for her, it's part of who she is. I mean, she's repping the clothes today more than I am. So I wouldn't change anything because I need to give ample time to Marchon as I do need to give to my wife and to my kids. And I'm lucky, like I said, when you're in this team as a pair, as a duo, she covers my back where I can't, fulfill as much time or effort, and vice versa.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love it if you occasionally did a school run for me, because I feel like I get in and out the car all day. But
I'd get the kids to school on time.
well, I know, yeah, that is that. But
the amount of emails I get from the head teacher.
I have improved.
Excuse me.
I have improved.
Dear Mr. Marchon, your child, blah, 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 has been late X amount of times this term. I'm like, what? We literally live a 5-minute drive.
Yeah, but I have
school.
No, my excuse is.
Let's move on.
No.
Let's move on.
Okay, before we argue.
I kind of wanted to hear what the excuse was, but we'll move on. So moving into the lines between work and personal life, obviously as an entrepreneur, when you guys are building a business that you're in, sort of, your family are involved. It's only a few minute walk from your house. Everything's very close. You mentioned obviously carving out time on the weekend. What does sort of the blurred line between work and personal life look like now? And what did it look like sort of when this was being built?
Good question. I don't think much has changed. I just think you've got better at.
It's difficult because
Yeah.
in the early days, it wasn't so much like social media wasn't so much of a big part of what our business is, and also my position within the business. And for better or worse, now I guess as I'm trying to grow the Ollie Marchon brand alongside the Marchon brand, I have to spend more time with my phone and doing those sorts of things. So there's probably more time on social media now than there was, which often is again a commitment outside of the usual 8 to 5 working hours. But I certainly think I've become better at.
I think you've become better at switching off.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I think that's come with the ability. I think that's come with the fact that we built team. I don't actually think.
Yeah, you've got.
I don't actually think it's because I've become better at switching off. I think it's because we've now got people
taking stuff off your plate.
that can take roles off my plate, which I'm very grateful for. So I won't.
Because in the beginning it was basically it was almost all you. So now there are people who fill those roles, so you don't have to. So yeah, there's just a little bit less on your plate each time. But
yeah, I think in the evenings and at weekends and at events I don't necessarily need to be there now, so I've got confidence that other people are doing it. Therefore, I don't need to.
Yeah.
When I am going on my phone and things, it's because there's a real reason to, or because I want to, or because there's been an opportunity offered up that means I can.
So it's a good time to bring that up. So social media, obviously that's played a big part in what we're doing at the moment. How do you feel about in terms of Ollie's presence online? How does that make you feel?
I don't really know. What you, as in your social media presence?
Does it come with any challenges? Is it nice to see in terms of?
I think it's nice to see. Like, there is a lot of people out there who get abused daily, etc. And I've never seen that for you. Like, you are a well-respected person on social media. And I think I would find it really hard if every day there was someone who had said something about you or didn't like you for whatever reason. Do you know what I mean? I'd find that really difficult. Like, even now, sometimes if I see a comment that isn't nice, I find it really hard not to reply. But they're very few and far between, and I think you're extremely lucky. But I also think that it's a testament to you. I don't think there is a bad word to say about you. Was that a good answer?
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely bad things said about me. She's quite.
Maybe I just don't. maybe I just don't see them.
I'll send you a folder, Loz. I've got one.
But if there are, I don't see them. And I think I'd find it really hard if I did see them.
I think Loz is. I would love Lauren to be more have her own presence with on social media. Say that. Because she does she could build a really strong personal brand. I
just don't know whether that's your social media is your thing.
Well, it is my thing by default, but it could be your thing. You just choose not to, which is, again, it's your prerogative. But I do think when I look at the sorts of people that Lauren follows, and they've got hundreds of thousands of followers, there's no reason why she couldn't be doing the same thing as them. And obviously, selfishly, it means that we can monetize Lauren's Lauren's personal brand as well, and it gives a very different perspective to it will be a very different brand to what mine is and what Marchon is, and it's more around parenting, it's more around
I just think
fashion
that,
and that kind of stuff.
I get, like today, for example, like imposter syndrome. Like I almost like don't see why you would want me here.
Yeah.
Or like, and it's the same thing with social media. Like I don't see why like someone would be bothered about like what I've got to say or like do. So like I'm like, why would anyone care?
Yeah.
And
but
like
the reality is I get asked weekly about, and whenever we've done the intermittent Q&As, the two of us, or I've put you on there, like, can we see more Mrs. M and more kid stuff? Like there's a large group of people that obviously are following the Marchon brand for the fitness, but there's other people in the brand that they want to know more about. People are nosy at the end of the day, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but they're just curious. They want to understand. And like I said, you might think that no one's interested, but the reality is, and I'll say this confidently, you're a 33-year-old female that has 3 kids, that looks unbelievable, that manages to train. But these are all things that are aspirational for a lot of people. And there's like lessons to be had from how you've done it, even though it might be second nature to you, or you might not see that there's value to people. For a lot of people, they find that shit difficult. People still find the whole notion of a calorie deficit difficult. People still find going to gym 2 times a week difficult. So
I get
whilst
that.
you might not be this elite fitness athlete sponsored by big fitness brands,
I'm definitely not.
there's a number of people that you will resonate with and that you can help.
I'm like your Joe Blogg's mum.
I mean, Gogglebox was made a phenomenon by watching people watch TV. So.
This is true. I could do that. I could definitely do that. If they would want me, I'd do that.
Would you do that?
No.
He wouldn't do it because he doesn't watch TV with me.
Oh, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, I would do it on my own. I just have to talk to myself. I mean, maybe that would be my USP.
So moving on, the actually this feeds in quite nicely. So we did a Q&A on Ollie's Instagram about some questions that people wanted to ask.
Yep.
I would say over 50% of the messages were just saying how much they love you. So
thanks, guys.
If you needed the confidence,
and I can show that's genuine.
I know,
true. I can
like,
show you those.
Yeah, I know, but like I just yeah.
But the reality is, this episode isn't going to be for like the same people that might watch the Will Googe episode or the Steve Cook episode. But there's
also, I would just like to apologise if anyone does listen to this and they think, Jesus, that I'm never going to get that hour back of my life. Like, just a disclaimer, I apologise.
But there were tens of questions in 6 short hours that I want to put a Q&A out.
Okay.
Of people wanting to ask you questions.
And I am forever. I am. That sounded sarcastic, but I am grateful. Like that anyone is interested in what I've got to say.
Thanks. So, moving into some of those questions.
Yep.
I'm going to hand select some. First one, would you ever do a high rocks together?
This is actually, I'll go first. I was speaking about this in Ireland with Jens and Miles, because Miles was talking about doing one with Caroline. And I said, I would love to do one with Loz. Like she can go. She's fit and she's competitive.
I would like to do one. I just don't know if doing one with you would be like my first, whether I should do that.
Fuck
first.
You then.
No, but like, I should just like to ease myself in gently, and I know that I know that you would look after me completely the whole way through.
I'll carry you.
You will probably be doing those like lunges with me on your back. Like, I think
so. Where I got to with the boys when we were talking about it was that we wouldn't be able to train together. And that's obviously doesn't mean you can't do it together on the actual day, but that I think would be the limitation. To try and find babysitters or people to look after kids so we could go train for high rocks is probably going to be a stretch too far. But I definitely think we'll do one.
I do think we'll do one. I think now, like the kids have all not fled the nest, but they're all in like nursery now, and I've got more time on my hands. Like I have more time to commit to training.
I mean, that would make a banging YouTube series.
Oh, we'll do it.
Mum and dad training for
maybe
high
not
rocks.
this year, maybe next year, but again, I might just need to do like a little like practice run before I do it with you.
Yeah, fine.
And whoever I do it with, you're not just like a guinea pig, by the way. Like, just whoever I ask to like.
We'll get Chad to be the guinea pig.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask Charlie. Yeah, just ease me in gently.
So, Ollie, What is one trait about Mrs. M that you wish you could inherit more of?
Patience.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, I'm the least patient person. You probably know that.
But
so.
I am not. I am patient to an extent.
Well,
Like it will take a lot from like me to lose my shit.
This was my question, so I don't know why you're speaking.
Yeah, but
Patience. And Mrs. M, same question to you about Ollie.
Yeah, definitely like your motivation and your drive. Like I do need to be. I don't think I need to be more of those things, but like I'd like to be.
Nice. This might be a question from the episodes we did, you and me, Ollie, about your history. How did you win Mrs. M back?
He wrote me a lot of letters, which I've actually kept. I should have brought them with me.
Oh, that would have
I could
been
have
nice.
quoted some things. They were like pages and pages. They were.
Don't throw me under the bus.
I've kept them in a box. I've kept them somewhere. I don't know where they are, and I'll like be really upset if we've lost them because we've moved so many times. But like, I did have. He wrote me letters. I also remember like you crying on your mum's utility floor. So yeah.
All right, there we go. I cried and I wrote some letters.
Yeah, and he doesn't cry very often. Like I think I've seen you cry like a handful of times in my life. But like, yeah. So it took a while.
Yeah, I mean, it took way longer than I thought it would.
Because it had just been a cycle of like in the past of just like me taking you back like really easily after stupid stuff that you had done. And then like I got to the point where I was like, this has got to be it now. And I didn't see myself getting back with you at one point. I was like, no, he's taking the piss. What he did do, I don't know if this has ever been mentioned, is he posted a picture on social media when he was in Thailand that said, I can feel like I can quote it. It was a selfie as well. So you should be ashamed. It was a selfie of his face, and it was like, I've got nothing to worry about in life apart from the sweat on my like nose or something. And I thought, fuck you. Like I genuinely did. I was like, that he is never, because I knew what was going to happen. I knew he'd come back from Thailand and he'd message me. I don't think it took 24 hours before you messaged me when you landed. So yeah, I was like, absolutely not. So that's why. If you hadn't posted that on social media, it probably wouldn't have taken the letters.
You know the story I told about going to Hong Kong and then to Thailand with Chad?
Yeah.
That's where that picture was taken.
It's probably still on there somewhere. You'll probably have to scroll down really far, but it is there, unless you've archived
a couple of letters and a few tears later.
Yeah,
running back.
No, there was no running. There was absolutely no running.
Interesting. That's the recipe. So Ollie's promised to take Mrs. M to New York multiple times. Has he kept his promise? I've never been to New York. Just to let you know, I now describe New York as a myth. It's a mythological place that doesn't exist because I have been promised for the last probably 5 years every Christmas and birthday when you've forgotten.
Did you ask that question?
I mean, no, I did. I genuinely didn't. But like, yeah. So what? I didn't even let you finish the question. I was that mad about it.
I know I've said it a number of times. I will take Lauren to New York and it will be the best New York trip anyone's ever been on.
Okay.
I will take it.
Oh, I would also like to do a disclaimer. Like, you are the most generous person and like you're a very good gift giver, just not on the days where you're supposed to give actual gifts, which is fine.
But I also think that's also part of my upbringing. Like birthdays and Christmases were never, it wasn't a big thing for my dad. He would get as a present if and when we either asked for one or if he felt as though we deserved one.
Yeah, I know if I asked you for anything, there would be no, like within reason, there'd be like no question. Yeah. But like, yeah,
I'm just terrible with actual birthdays.
With actual birthdays and Christmases. Like he'll ask me like 2 days before Christmas, like, what do you want for Christmas? And then he'll be like, just order it. And I'll be like, that's not the point. But yeah. So yeah, like you are an extremely generous person and I love that about you. Not with just me, with like everyone who within your circle.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So that's New York on the cards. Still.
Yeah, it's pending if it exists.
Cool. I'm sure it does. So how do you, Loz, as a full-time mum, balance your training? Something that people are very interested in. What do you think some of the tips you could give people out there maybe struggling with that would be?
It's really difficult because, like, if you don't have a great support system, like, I'm extremely lucky. Like, my mum lives 15 minutes away. Your mum lives 5 minutes away. Like, I know if I asked them, they'd never say no. So, like, for a long time, I have relied on those two people. But yeah, so if you don't have a great support system, I know it's incredibly hard. But like for like this month, for example, your mum has gone away for a month. Selfish woman. And like, she usually has the kids on a Monday and a Friday, and I would train for an hour. But now I don't obviously have that. So, like, as soon as he gets home from work, like, I will have fed the kids. We'll do like a quick changeover, and I may train at 6. It's just, I just have to like adapt. Like, I can't get used to just being like a 9 a.m. trainer and that's it. Like, if I want to train, like, I need to like put in the effort and like, motivate myself to go at like 6 p.m. if I have to. It's just, it's just making it work around what we've got going on, or like who I've got to lean on.
Loz is also the queen of minimum effective dose, and I mean that in a really good way. If I look at the last 10 years of Lauren's training and also the way she views nutrition, she's just been consistent. Like, even if that's 2 or 3 times a week, eating moderately good, she's been really consistent. So you'll never see her weight balloon up. You'll never see her weight go really super skinny. She's always just in amazing shape because it's just of her outlook on training. I'm obviously very highly strung. First thing I think about when we go on holiday or wherever we are is like, when am I going to get my workout in? For Lauren, she doesn't really think like that. She's very super motivated, or she's super disciplined with training 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week, more if her diary will allow her to. But
I just try not to get like, I do notice a difference if I don't train in my mood. Like, if say on a day, like, I notice that if I haven't trained, like, my patience is a lot thinner. But like, also at the same time, like, I just think since becoming a mum, like, I just know that other things like take priority, and if I can't train, I'm not going to stress about it, because if I get stressed about it, like, it doesn't do me or anyone else around me any favors.
Yeah, I think it comes back to, again, the teamwork component. Like last night or the night before, she couldn't train during the day when the kids were at school, so she messaged me and said, "Are you going to be home by 6 so I can go to the gym?" So, you know, I get home and while the kids are eating, she'll go out and train. Just
like, also, when you have them for an hour, it's like a bomb has gone off. I don't know what happens.
Survival mode.
Yeah. It's like I came home the other day and they'd made like a path with the sofa cushions around our kitchen.
The floor was lava.
Yeah. It's mad. Which I love, because I love the fact that they like love playing with you and like doing those things. But I'm like, when I come home at like 7 and I've got to we've got to get them into bed, I'm like, I've got to do all this now once they've gone to bed.
Interesting. How did you balance training whilst you were pregnant? So obviously you recently had a beautiful baby girl.
I've trained through every pregnancy. Like, I don't know if there was a balance. Was there a balance? To me, like, it just didn't feel any different.
Everyone's going to be coming into it from a different starting point. Again, for Lauren. So prior to me even meeting Lauren, or in fact, when I first met Lauren, we're into training and fitness.
Well, as soon as I could drive at 18, I would like go to the gym. Like, I've been to the gym regular times a week since the age of 18.
But just to give people the full perspective. So, and during that period in her like late teens, early 20s, she did the whole MyFitnessPal thing. You tracked food. She had an understanding for protein. Obviously, when we got together, she then had more of an education because she got the rub from me. And she's always trained. Even when she was cabin crew, she would find the gym at the hotel. So she's always trained. So when she fell pregnant, she just did what she'd always done, which was keep going to the gym. She had the benefit of obviously going to the Marchon gym and being around the Marchon coaches who would take her through different stages of that pregnancy and make sure that she was adequately challenged, but also not pushed too hard. But, you know, I've referenced this before. I think with Leo, you pushed a 100 and something kilo sled the day you went into labor.
Yeah.
You were doing pull-ups band-assisted pull-ups the same day. Same with Enzo. Like, she trained up to the day she gave birth, because prior to falling pregnant, training was something that she did. And this is why if there are any
Yeah.
sort of young females that listen to this, if you are into training, just keep going with it. And
I get a lot of questions about like, should I do this? Should I do that? Like when I'm pregnant. And I don't often like to answer the question because like I know nothing about, like I'm not trained in like pre and postnatal training. I've just relied on like the knowledge of the coaches. And 2, like I know nothing about that person's like background or previous training. So like I don't like to advise anyone. So like I always say like I'm not a professional. Like if I just would, yeah, it's really hard. I just like, if it doesn't feel right, you know your body better than anyone else. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Like there's the obvious things like don't do chest to floor burpees, and like I know your hormones affect your balance, so like things like box jumps and things like that like are just rule out. But like nobody knows your body better than you do. So like if it doesn't feel right, just trust your gut.
Interesting. So moving into some other ones. So what does Mrs. M eat in a day? You said obviously Loz is quite. I mean, the giggle makes me think otherwise. But what is it?
Ollie often says I eat like a child, which I'm not about. Like I'm not about. Like no, like you said, like it's just been years and years of like consistently eating.
I think I'll answer for you. It's just she's not a massive fan of breakfast. Like breakfast is the meal I look forward to most. I fucking love eggs. Lauren's got to be in a particular mood to want to eat eggs. So like,
oh God, yeah.
So breakfast is usually something carb based and a bit of toast. If she was really on it, she'd maybe make a protein smoothie or something that's high in protein.
Yeah, like most mornings, like now that the kids are at school, like I'm getting to the gym for 9. So like, but trying to feed myself and feed them and get myself dressed and get them dressed in the space of like an hour and a half is quite difficult, and getting them out the door. So like I often just grab like a banana and like a yogurt pouch, like a protein yogurt pouch, and have a coffee in a flask in the car.
What's your go-to lunch?
Well, this is where I like to like make something the night before and then save it. If not, then I'll come home and have like a sausage or bacon and egg bagel. Like it doesn't, do you know what I mean? If I haven't made anything from the night before, if there's no leftovers, then.
And the evening meal, once we've all gone to bed, is kind of where Loz will prepare a good meal.
My main, like I tend to eat like a 3-course meal in the evening when there's no one else around.
Yeah. Do you snack much?
No. I'm not. I used to be a snacker, but I don't like. Yeah, it's just now.
Again, when it comes to food, like Lauren's one of these people that can leave food on her plate and know when she's full. I've never had that ability. Again, maybe come back to my childhood where my dad was like, if you don't finish that, I'll wrap it around your neck. But I've always, I'll eat 2 portions, 3 portions. I'll basically eat until I'm stuffed. Whereas Loz will eat until she feels, comfortable.
Good.
And then just leave it alone. Similar, so she doesn't really have that obsessive relationship with the gym or food like a lot of us do. So again, it goes back to that just minimum effective dose, fairly well balanced, if we can use that word, when it comes to how she views nutrition. She'll kind of eat whatever she wants, and she understands.
And don't get me wrong, like you said, I've done like the whole MyFitnessPal, and I have been like obsessive with like putting my food in, and like if like at the end of the day, I remember once I like wanted an Oreo, but it didn't like fit into my like calories, and then I just thought, fuck it, like I'm just gonna eat everything inside now. But like I have got to a point now where that like it doesn't consume me anymore. Like what I eat seems to be working. So like like it just isn't. It's just not really a thought process.
So to follow on the theme of what you eat in a day, etc. This question I really like, and I think we should do it Sunday maybe, which will be the day before this episode goes out. Someone says, I want to see a full day where Mrs. M takes over Ollie's Instagram. Do you think we can make that happen?
If I can put people to bed.
That's not true. You are such a.
Well, okay, would you do it?
No, but I mean, there just wouldn't be anything on there.
Could you commit to a day of a takeover?
Yeah.
I mean, not this Sunday because we're taking Leo for his birthday to
Natural History Museum.
Yeah.
I actually booked that last night.
Yeah, we can make that. I mean, we can make it happen. I can say yeah, but she's the one that has to do it.
Fine, I will.
I've been asking her to do Instagram stories on her page for the last 10 years. She plugs
What, the
every
reason-
brand
the-
but my brand.
Oh my God. The reason why we work, I think, is because you're Mr. Consistent with those sorts of things, and I'm like Mrs. Inconsistent. Like I just can't stick to social media consistently. Again, it comes back to like, does anyone care? But like, I know that, and like you've said, I know that they do, but like, it's just sometimes I'm like, this really like isn't interesting, surely, to anyone.
Can we get a commitment for a takeover?
Yeah, I'll do it. Just
There we
not
go.
this weekend.
You heard it here. Amazing. How often are you guys working out together?
We don't.
We don't.
At all?
It used to be my favourite thing in the world to work out of Loz, like holiday.
When we go on holiday on our own,
Yeah.
we do.
Which is, we're going to South Africa, obviously, for Charlie's wedding together. So we'll probably train together then.
The last time we trained together was our honeymoon, probably.
Yeah.
You've done a HQ session together, no? Here and there?
Nah, not properly.
Because we just train at different times. Like
Yeah.
we just don't. Our schedules never meet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's usually just holidays where the kids aren't there. We did try to shove them all into kids club last holiday, but like Enzo didn't play ball. Enzo was having absolutely none of it. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's not for a while.
No.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it just doesn't. Yeah. Also, your style of training is very different from mine.
How so? Elaborate.
I don't like to sweat. I don't like anything that's too difficult. Yeah.
You play it down. I mean, she's a savage. Loz is a savage. You're strong and you're fit.
Like we say, all the coaches in the gym are like, you moan your entire way through the session, but like you always get it done. And that is true. I love a moan. I'm a woman. It's natural to us. But like, I'll get it done.
Mm.
There you go.
Especially if it's a competition, I am secretly really competitive. Like no one, like if I'm like got like someone next to me, sorry for whoever trains next to me in the gym, like, but if there's like a finisher and you've got to finish in a certain time, the person next to me doesn't know we're competing, but I know we're competing. And I'm like, fuck you, Susan.
That's going to be the
You're
that's
going
going to be
down,
the promo.
Susan. Yeah, like no one knows, but in my head, I like to make it like a little bit of a competition. But yeah,
Interesting. Remind me not to train next to you.
yeah.
What is life like when Ollie's traveling? So that comes up quite often, especially at the moment when Ollie's not around. Does that change anything for you, or is the routine sort of the same?
Daytime routine is pretty much like the same, like 'cause as we've alluded to, like I take control of that. But like obviously, like the nighttime is different, and the kids really miss you. Definitely, like when I FaceTimed you when you were in Belfast, when the kids were in the bath. Like we got off the phone and Leo was like, I really miss Daddy. Because like they like love like playing with him like after the bath, and I just don't do that. I'm very much like shouting like, get your pajamas on, like brush your teeth, like get into bed. Like I'm like that, whereas you love to like do a little like wrestle with them, and yeah. So I miss you too, but like they definitely miss having you around in the evenings, and they like, yeah, they know the difference.
What's that like for you all when you're traveling with a family back at home?
It's tough, man. But again, when we sit down at the start or the end of a year and look at where we've been and where we're trying to go, and my role in the company now, like I know that this is the role that I have to try and play. And like I said, going back to the fact that the business is something that's very important to me, as is my kids, as is my wife, as is my friends, and so it's just I have to try and balance things out as best I can. There's going to be periods where I'm away more, and not so much less. I do hope that I never look back and regret any time that I wasn't around.
I wind you up and as well, and I'm like, you're going on holiday, and he's like, it's not a holiday.
Yeah,
like,
she thinks everything's a holiday because
no,
I
know
love
it's not,
because
like,
I love
wind him
fitness
up.
so much, right? Because fitness is my thing and I love it so much. And my business just happens to be in the fitness space. She thinks everything. When I get up at 4:30, she
stop
thinks
making out that I'm like this, Karen. I know that it's work, but I love to banter you that you're going on holiday. Also, I'd love to spend a week doing fitness without the kids.
Yeah,
like,
I hear you.
So like, on even the kids call it a holiday. Like he got back from Belfast yesterday, and Leo was like, "How's your holiday, Daddy?" So yeah, but like I like to like banter you about it, but like I know that like, can you imagine, like I would hate for you to do a job that you were like miserable and like I couldn't think of anything worse for you. Like I love the fact that you love work and like you love your job and that it brings these opportunities for you. Like I love that. Like I wouldn't want
Again, I think back to like when my dad was at work. I also sometimes I get on the train first thing in the morning when we're going to London and come back late. You see all the guys, in a suit, commuting to London. You know that they're not seeing their kids in the morning or the evening. So in some walks of life, this is the norm, and it is what it is. It just means that when you do have moments together, like at weekends for us, you need to make sure that you pack them full of things. And if I was a shithouse at weekends and didn't make the effort then I would really need to question myself. But I do try and do all I can to be...
Make it work.
Yeah, make it work and be fully present.
Amazing. That's it for questions. So just to finish off, is there anything that you two want to say to each other that maybe you haven't said? If so, you're on a podcast, thousands of people listening. Now's the time to do it.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you too.
Keep doing you.
Thanks, Lars.
And then that's probably it.
No, so we asked all the questions, have we?
Yeah.
What do I want to say to you? I mean, I say everything. I sing Lauren's praises all the time, both on outwardly and also behind closed doors. And I just like the team that we have at Marchon and the people that work here, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am if it wasn't for Loz. More so, obviously, than the people that work within the company, because she's the kind of rock that holds it all together. I've told her she's the glue, and I know it's very cliche, but I think when you are in a relationship where the two people truly do complement each other, know each other's strengths, cover each other's weaknesses, I think it's a powerful combination.
Yeah.
Our kids are young as well, right? So I think there's going to be twists and turns to what we're doing in the current setup. I like that Lauren can call me out and tell me I'm a dick when I'm being a dick. But I also like that she's my biggest fan, and I think
I am. I know, like I don't always show it, and I don't always say it, and that's something I probably need to get better at. I'm just not very good at complimenting people, but like, yeah, you are.
Thank you.
Great. You're a great guy.
You can go back into podcast retirement now. Although
I think after this, we might have to have a separate show.
To be honest, I'm quite offended that I'm just a guest and not a co-host, but that's a story. But that's the time.
We can make you a co-host if you want to be a co-host.
No, I wouldn't be good at it.
But I think it's very evident that the people would like to see more of Mrs. M. So
thanks, guys. Yeah.
She's like the least confident person.
Yeah, I'm the most socially awkward person and so unconfident. Like talking and being on camera is like my idea of absolute hell.
I don't know why.
So like when you two asked me, I was like, for fuck's sake.
Why? What?
Just because like it's not something that comes naturally to me. Like
talking.
Well, don't like talking, but like just being on camera.
That's why, and it's to anyone that's got a business or wants a business that's can leverage social media. But that's why you just keep showing up and practice. No one's good at talking to a camera from the get go. But you like do little bits of it, and then you scarper off into the shadows again.
Yeah, because I'm like.
You've just done an hour of it. How did you find that?
No, I mean, you can probably tell from like the beginning couple of questions, I was like shaking.
I could see you shaking.
I was nervous. Now, like I feel like we've warmed up, but like I just feel like a little like to be honest, I don't care what anyone else like thinks of me. I would just want to make sure that like I had done your podcast and you like
justice.
Yeah, justice.
I think you've done a fantastic job. Thank you.